All right, so I wanted to show you an example of this. So, like, what does this look like? Practice what you preach. So I wanted to take one of our lesson videos from EdReady and just kind of show you, at least me personally, what it would look like in terms of taking notes. One thing I didn't go over in this video, or excuse me, this presentation that I typically go over like in my ACA class is different styles of note taking. So you've probably heard about these before. Of course, you have things like the Cornell system that's been around since like 18. It's where you divide, kind of like this person done here. You divide your paper up. That's one system. Outlining, of course, I think is probably the most popular. Mind mapping is another, which for me, the thought of like drawing bubbles and like branching them out, like it doesn't work for me, but it might work for other people. I didn't want to get really too much into the different systems, just more or less like what you should be writing down. So let's look at one of these videos. So here was my little student demo account. Let's just hypothetically say that I was working on circles. So study this resource. Now you can take notes from my lesson videos as well. I'm not saying you have to take notes on every single thing in EdReady or every single thing from my lesson videos. However, taking notes on the topics that are read for you is what's going to help you on your tier test. You'll have something that you can go back and actually study. So in terms of the options for EdReady, the ones that I like the most are probably these three here. The warm-up is kind of, personally, it's kind of, but these three here, the topic test is probably, or excuse me, the topic text is probably the most detailed out of all three of them. Some students, though, do not do well reading from a textbook and trying to take notes. That's just not an option. If you like that though better than the presentation, this is what I would suggest. But let's look at the presentation here, and I'll just kind of show you, if I was a student, what would this look like? First and foremost, before I hit play, and practice what I preach here. Every time you take notes on something at the top of my paper, and I don't take notes on this unless you really want to take notes on circles. I would write the topic, and then I would write the date. Yeah, it kind of keeps things in chronological order for you. Oh.
A common shape that is all around us is the circle. A circle is a two-dimensional figure that is the set of points that are the same distance away from a given point, like point A.
Now, notice I didn't write down that definition. If you listen to a definition on this video and you're like, well, that didn't help me at all, then it's not going to help you if you write it down. In my lesson videos I create and the videos that I'll give you, I'm all about speaking math in the language that we're used to. Whatever she just said right there, nothing. But I know what a circle is, so don't feel like you have to write down every single thing that you hear.
If the length of this line segment represents the distance from point A, we can find all the points that are the same distance away by rotating the line segment around point A. Every point on this circle is the same distance away from the center point. The center point is called the center. The distance from the center to the circle is called the radius. A line that passes through the center with endpoints on the circle is called a diameter. The length of the diameter is twice the radius.
Now, at this point, I would probably, and this is the good thing about you kind of, I know learning from a computer is not great, but you have the option to pause this and be like, what did she just say? Now, she said the diameter is twice the radius. That would be something that I would consider to be important. The picture she drew is going to help me, and the fact that she said the diameter is twice the radius. All the other stuff before that, again, if it was a bunch of like, what did you say in the center of it? It has the same amount of no, it's not that important. This picture, any visuals that they give you, yes, it's
the
going to be
radius
important.
is represented by the variable r. Since the diameter is twice the radius, d equals 2r. Like polygons, it's useful to be able to figure out a circle's area and outside measures, or circumference. The perimeter, or distance around a circle, is called the circumference. Anyone who works with.
So again, this is kind of where headings are important. Notice she switched to a totally different topic. We were talking about the different parts of the circle at the beginning. I got it. This is my diameter. This is my radius. She told me that my diameter is twice the radius. But now she switched to something different. When you're taking notes, I'm always a big fan of, hey, we moved on to something different. I always just kind of draw a line to separate my paper so I can keep that organized.
Plumbing, irrigation, or ducting needs to understand circumferences before connecting lengths of pipe or duct. In every circle, the ratio of the circumference, C, to the diameter, D, comes out to be the same number, a
We don't
constant.
really have an exact.
We call that number
She knows
pi,
how many in this
which
class.
is represented by the Greek
I will
letter
teach you
pi.
too.
Pi is a non-repeating, non-terminating decimal, so it goes on forever. For many practical purposes, you can round pi off to 3.14, or if it is more convenient, as when working with a fraction, use 22/7 for pi. These are approximate values for pi. The ratio can be rewritten to isolate C, giving you an easy way to find the circumference if you know the diameter. You can calculate the circumference by multiplying the diameter by pi. And since the diameter is twice the radius, if you know the radius, you can calculate the circumference by multiplying pi times twice the radius. Let's try a couple. What's the circumference?
So, pause for a second. This is what I mean by when you're writing stuff down that an instructor's telling you, and you're like, they wrote something down, I don't know what they meant. Like if I just wrote C equals pi d, as a student, if I'm like, I don't know what this means, but she said to me, that means pi times your diameter, that's the kind of stuff that you need to write down beside your formulas or your examples if you don't know what this means. But so far, this would be my notes in this class, or in this video. Now next what she said was, well, let's show you some examples. So this is where I'm running out of space here, plus I want to get you guys started. This is where I would draw another line in my paper and be like, okay, we're about to do some examples of circumference. I think as students, probably this is the most beneficial part for you in note taking, is writing down actual examples that they're doing. So that way, when you go to do your practice, you're like, okay, example number 1. I'm going to do
Of a circle with a diameter of 12 millimeters.
draw the picture.
Circumference,
say this is 12 millimeters.
Equals pi times the diameter,
She says
which is
C
12
equals
millimeters.
pi times D. Again, I'm telling myself.
Use
I'm gonna multiply.
3.14 to approximate pi, then multiply, and you get approximately 37.68 millimeters. Now, what's the circumference of a circle with a radius of 14 miles?
Again, this way, when I get to my practice or I get to my unit test, and I'm like, oh, they gave me a circle with the diameter and it's asking me to find the circumference. It's just like plugging what you've done from the video directly into what you're doing now. So, I'm not going to go through the whole thing just for the sake of time. But I can't stress the importance enough of in this class. I know these videos are there. I know you can watch them at any time. But the actual act of writing notes is what's going to help you memorize this for your tier test. And it's what's going to help you in the future. If you're in tier 1 right now and you go on to take Math 110, do not think this is going away. It's coming right back. Don't at the end of the semester decide you're going to have like a notebook burning party for everything and you're fired. I actually did do that for one class when I was in college because I was just so frustrated. But anyways, don't do that if you're going to need it in the future. If you're going to go on and take Math 143, Math 152, Math 171, it's just going to come back to this circle. Don't